Hello there. Welcome to the channel again. Today I want to talk a little bit about headstalls, rawhide braided headstalls in particular. So, over the years, I have made many rawhide headstalls, and I like using them. I like the look of them, and so I guess because I can, I had a lot of them. And I sold a lot of them, but I used them all. And throughout the years, I discovered there are some things that are, in my book, from what I experienced, real important in a headstall. And yes, a headstall does little more than keeping a bit where it needs to be in a horse's mouth. But there's some more stuff that I figured that was real important. Let me take a headstall here, and it's pretty fancy, although I do say so myself, but I don't make them like this anymore. Reason being, if you see these buttons, nice buttons, but they are not flat. Here, they're flat, no problem. Here, it's flat, no problem. But here, it may cause discomfort to the horse. And not just discomfort, but it may even create rut sores. Now, these are quite a ways down. And a horse's head, you got the cheeks of the horse, and then it kind of tapers down into the muzzle. So, especially here on the horse, that's where the headstall actually comes in contact with the horse's face. And in here, usually it's a little bit free floating, so to speak. Now, this works all right on my horse, but I decided not to make them like this anymore. So I went and did something different. Let me get rid of this one here first. So, it turns out that the more comfortable you make it for the horse to wear the headstall and the bit, the less distraction there is. And the more your horse can focus on your signal that you give with your hand through your romal rein down to the bridle. So I figured I wanted my headstalls to be more flat. And what I did in this case is this is a 16 plat braid pressed flat. So whenever you do an over one, under one braid, and it doesn't really matter in the numbers, but especially in a 4 plate or a 6 plate, if you do an under one, over one sequence, you get a round. It's a round braid. Now, if you do with 6, like an under one, over 2, then you kind of get a D shaped. If you braid 8 over 2, under 2, you get a square. And a square has a flat side, right? Now, if you braid 12 without a core even, or especially without a core, you get an hexagonal form. Now, once you go to 16 or more, and there's no core in there, it tends to become flat. And it's easily pressed flat. And this is what I did here. I braided 16 strings over a core, and then just pressed it flat, and this is what I ended up with. This is just a regular 8 plate square braid. But as you can see, like right here, and especially here, where the headstall comes into contact with the horse's face, it's flat. So it's very comfortable for the horse to wear it. Now, you can go to a round braid, not a problem. But if I want to put buttons on a headstall like I do now, I keep them fairly flat. Everything's real flat. So there's not a small surface that can rub against the horse's face and therefore create a rub sore. So this is a 12 flat round. It's got a core in there. And I used to didn't like it, but I now like just the leather strap with a buckle on there. I like it a lot right now because it's real easy to change the length of the bridle should I use another horse. Something else that we can also do is all the buttons that end up being pretty much flat are long buttons or ring knots. They have a smooth, flat surface there. So here I fancied it up a little. I found this in a garbage bin on a horse show. Some old broken halter, and I salvaged the silver, put it in the brow band. Again here, this is a round braid, but everything here is pretty much made so it turns out to be flat. Now, not necessarily the case with a spade bit, because a spade bit is a signal bit. But if you were to use any leverage bit on a headstall like this, having it round here, meaning a relatively small surface area, you get a lot more of a compressed signal on the pole. So whenever I pick up a bridle bit and leverage starts to work, that also means it presses the headstall down on his pole. Now, the less surface you have here, the more compressed or condensed signal you convey to the horse. And it actually gives a little bit more bite. Like here, again, 12th plate here. What I did here is just 2 square braids of 8 over 2 under 2 and lace them together again with a flat, pressed flat ring knot on there. Now, these buttons here, they're not going to touch the horse, and they're pretty good in securing your headstall. Another thing is, if I do a sliding ear, and especially if I do a double sliding ear, I want to make sure that the part of the headstall that actually carries the bit is straight here. What I don't want is this to happen. I want it like this. That's why I braid this the way I do. And the top part here can slide. So if I have a horse that's kind of fidgety up there, I can adjust the headstall so the horse is happy with it. And another thing is that if this were to be like braided together up top here, what that'll do is, since this is not exactly in the same line as this, it may kind of want to twist the headstall a little bit in this direction, I should say. So the headstall is not completely squared up behind the horse's ear, and I don't know if it does something, but between my ears, I think it does something, so it bothers me, and I quit doing that. everyone that has ever picked up the Bruce Grant Encyclopedia, this headstall is something that you must have seen. And I made it exactly like Bruce Grant described it. I did it with an 8-plet over 2 under 2 square body. The two together make a nice flat surface that's easy for the horse to wear and is very comfortable. For the rest, I did pretty much everything like in the book, except for the dimensions. Like in the book, back in those days, the horses that were ridden were a lot more coarse, let me use that word, as opposed to the refined specimens that are well-bred that we're riding today. So I did change the measurements to fit my horse. And then this one is the last one I want to show you. And some years ago, I was in Oklahoma City, and I believe it was like the 20th anniversary of the Traditional Cowboy Association exhibition there in sale. And I was invited by my good friend Greg Darnell. So I was there, and the good thing about going then is all the artists are over there, and you can ask questions about the piece that they're exhibiting. Now, Nate Walt had a set consisting of a headstall and a set of row mill reins, and it caught my eye immediately. And Nate must have been thinking in the same directions as I've been thinking, you know, as far as the comfort for the horse. So again, we got the cheeks, and it kind of tapers down to the muzzle of the horse. So what Nate did, the upper part here, where it's really in contact with the horse's face, he braided it flat with a trenza patria. And then underneath here, he had it a lot more elaborate than I'm showing here, with some buttons that were on the back side here, where it could touch the horse, were also flat. So I decided to give it a try. Started with a 4-plet over 1 under 1 round, and then brought it together to an 8-plet trenza patria flat braid, and then went to 8 over 2 under 2. And again, a headstall that is really comfortable to wear for a horse. Now, one thing I like, especially on my spate bits, is I like to have a brow band. On other leverage bits or half-breed bits, I'd probably go for a sliding ear or a half sliding ear, as I have this hybrid that I make between a split ear and a sliding ear. Those are the things that I figured out over the years that make it more comfortable for a horse to wear a rawhide headstall. And again, the more comfortable a horse is, you know, the more it can relax and just focus on the job and focus on what I'm trying to get him to do. And it works for me. Now, maybe it's not a science behind it. Maybe I'm just making it up. But as long as it works here in between my ears, chances are I'm going to feel better, and it's going to work for my horse, whether it's in the show pen or whether I'm out for, you know, flushing a pasture and moving a herd cattle somewhere else, you know. Again, it just works for me, and everything is, again, all just my personal opinion. So if you like what we're doing here, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and I'll see you all again in the next video.